Well, finally getting around to having a look at the campsites, and ones we liked and didn't like, and ones we would have liked, I'm sure, if we would have stayed at them. Things we found as we ran through Tasmania. Welcome back, or welcome to YouTube's worst channel. However, it's serving its purpose. Bit of documentation that I don't have to write with dodgy fingers. Hopefully I'm learning to speak a little better. I'm always interested as you thumb through YouTube some of the thumbnails. The 11 best van parks in Australia. How do you know? You would have had to have been to every van park in Australia. In reality, it's just the 11 best van parks that you stayed at in your opinion, which puts some kind of qualifiers around that statement. 7 things you must know before you get on the Spirit of Tasmania or whatever. Why do I need to know them? I've got no doubt that once you get into it, there's a bit of a qualifier there. I don't get into them. If someone wants to start telling me those things, I'm out. And I'm probably the small percentage. It probably works, and it's probably what the gurus tell you need to do to get people in. They catch my eye, but I just scroll on by. 40 unhooks and hookups. And a little bit later on I'll get into the average price and the total cost. Our strategy in Tasmania is find a base, settle in for a bit of time and radiate out from said base. There's a few campgrounds on the way down and on the way back, and I'll include them as well. So in Tasmania itself, there is a number that we liked and others may not. That's why I don't do recommendations, because I am a little odd, and anywhere there's people, I try to avoid. Garden Island, little man-made affair at Clarence Point, just across the river, just across the Tamar River from Georgetown, and not too far from the mouth. In actual fact, straight line, Low Head, as a crow flies, just a bit of a drive around the place to get to Low Head. It was a freebie, so we spent a couple of nights there and had a look around that area. East Beach and Low Head, cracking van park. As far as we're concerned, it would have got very interesting, or it would get very interesting when it was busy, but still largely sites. You can head up the back and go without power and water. Reasonable facilities, they're quite small, large operation, and direct access to East Beach and the Bass Strait. Ah yes, the Pyengana Recreation Reserve out near St Columba's Falls, pub in the paddock and Pyengana Dairies. Nobody here. Huge big campground. It was exceptionally cold, somewhere near -5, -6. Stepped outside at 2:30 a.m. The dark night sky was astonishing, just spectacular. Ironhouse Brewery, what a cracking place. Again, another $0 place. The Low Head van park was $40 and 0 humans. Cracking place, cracking spot. Possibly going to get busy when the tourist season heats up. South Arm RSL, another really good place, $10. No power, no water. Franklin, right on the Huon River, bit of a recreation reserve there. No power, no water. Oh, you can get water on the way out, I suppose, or the way in, or re-hook up and go and get it. $15. We spent 4 nights there and looked around Geeston and did a trip down to Southport to decide whether we were going to move there or not. Rosebery, very old, and again it would be difficult when it was busy, in the busy season, but great place to form a base and cover Strawn and Granville Harbour, Trial Harbour, right up to Reese Dam. Quite a good place to form a base. G'day Parks in Strawn, probably our best value of the whole trip. $27, showers, toilets, water, power. And some of these places these days you're paying for water. It'd be tight when it was busy. In the winter time, it's not. Smithton, what a cracking place. What a cracking place the van park is there. $40, we stayed there 5 nights. Great place to make your base, head down to Cape Grim, down to Arthur River. Run the Tarkon Drive. A lot to do. Toilet, showers, power, water, huge sites. Stanley Rec Grounds, there's water there, no toilets. Short walk down to the beach, kind of under the nut. $10, another great place. Old Max Farm over there near Launceston, another huge place. And he was starting to get busy in early October. A few farm animals, a few different attractions. You could choose water and power. I think water and power was $40. We didn't need either of those things when we were there, so we did a couple of nights for $20 a night. We could have bought water metered water for sale, $2 I think. Derwent Bridge, also very good at the Derwent Bridge Hotel. Good base there to run across into the National Park. We only spent 2 nights there. It was kind of a halfway house, had a nice feed at the pub, did a couple of the short walks over at the Lake St Clair National Park. 2 short walks combined into one for 4 or 5 k's. Hay is always great. The showgrounds, $20, power, water, plenty of room, easy to get into. We had a bit of a drive around the free camp down on the Murrumbidgee as well, and it doesn't look too bad. Just too many trees for my liking. Cuts out the sun in the windy weather that you can get at Hay. Branches fall down, do damage. The Geelong Showgrounds, shit of a place to get to, but pretty reasonable. If you're going to do a day sail and you need somewhere to camp, big sites, water power, quite a good place. Cootamundra Showgrounds, $20, power water. Dunedoo, $30, power water. The old Deep Water, 2 stops at Deep Water, that's a $0 place. Places I would try and avoid, and for others you won't need to. A bit smaller gear, won't be a problem. But personally, Coles Bay, great set of facilities at Coles Bay, but just quite small sites. Bridport, too many trees, winding, bending, lovely place, beautiful views. More suited to smaller gear. Tribunna, quite expensive I thought, in comparison to everything else, at $45, plus pay for the water in the showers. Not that we needed it, but some would. And really, really small and tight sites. I would avoid it when it was busy, and when we were there was only us and one other. But those sites are small and tight. Cradle camping and fishery, I get a bit nervous about one big extension cord running out of the house and servicing 10 or 15 sites, varying power boards, quite a chassis bending exit. After a lifetime working in process control and all of that type of thing, electrical issues make me nervous. People shouldn't be rooting around putting their fingers in switchboards. That's how you get turned back to base DNA against the opposite wall if you don't know what you're doing or you touch the wrong thing. So it happened 2 other times. On Bruny Island we experienced a power outage to our van, and it was before opening time, and I went down and checked, nobody was there, so I came back and waited and went back down at opening time, and mate was a little narky actually, and he said, I'll have to go to the switchboard and reset it. You must have been using the heater and the kettle at the same time, you shouldn't do that. And I'm thinking, wow. So you kind of charge me up near the top of what the rates are for this type of accommodation, and your facilities aren't quite up to it. Anyway, he reset it and we were just careful about what we used. Old mate tried to tell me, of course, that didn't you know that boiling water and big consumers of electricity? Yeah mate, I understand that. Then on the way home at Dunedoo, there's actually an instruction. Don't run various things together. But if your power does go out, go over here to this pole and reset this number switch. Wow, just does my head in. Dubbo, due to the dickhead from Dubbo, I won't ever be going back to Dubbo. Nothing wrong with the park, but while ever he's there, he'll never get me. The ones that we came across, or that we planned to stay at, but for whatever reason couldn't, that possibly or definitely would have made the list. A few good ones on Bruny Island, but mainly for smaller gear. The free ones around the Bay of Fires, I can see why people will get excited about Swimcart Beach and Cosy Corner, north and south, but just didn't quite do it for me. I don't know why. Maybe too many people. Winter time, and you'd have been lining up waiting for someone to leave. It looks like people were permanent down there. As beautiful as the beaches and things are, I was happy to move on. Deep Creek and Policeman's Point. Deep Creek kind of says no large vehicles. You'd get in if you knew what you were doing, but again, in the busy season, would be difficult. Policeman's Point, also very nice. We were going to camp there, but it was a bit wet and we struck that a bit. There's a few down around Cockle Creek. Gee, it would have been good to camp down there. Dark skies, but again, really wet. And the last thing I needed to do, or felt like doing, was getting bogged in a campsite and having to get extricated by large expensive tow trucks. There were probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 campsites on the way to Cockle Creek, and that one at Cockle Creek itself. Now these were crackers up on the way to the Gordon Dam. Ted's Beach, fantastic. Bit disappointed we didn't go to Ted's Beach, but anyway, things were set in place by then. And back on the southern end of Lake Pedder, Edgar Dam and Scotch Peak Road. Edgar Campground was a cracker, although not many views, but very decent sites. And there's also the Huon Campground, would be fantastic for smaller vehicles, tents, that sort of thing. Both were quite wet, both we couldn't make work with what we had on. Granville Harbour, one of my new favourite places. Again, too wet. Evidence of people having been bogged recently. Don't even want to imagine the cost of getting removed from being bogged down there. Certainly would be high on my list of places to stay, and possibly could become one of my favourite places. In fact, I could live at Granville Harbour just due to the sheer lack of humans. Another place that would be great to camp, and you forget about towing anything except really small in down there, is Trial Harbour. A little bit like Granville Harbour, just a little bit more remote and a little bit harder to access. Another place I could easily live. And of course there's the Macquarie Heads campgrounds, and first day we went down there and had a look, and we didn't go far enough and it all looked quite wet. And the next day we went back because we wanted to do a longer walk along the beach. We parked right down the end of the Macquarie Heads campground, and we could have got in there quite easily. And there was a guy there from Queensland actually, and he's Dodge Ram 1500 and Sunshine Coast made van. A few we missed out on, a few we made a couple of decisions that we should have looked a little bit harder at, but they'd be a few that I wouldn't mind camping at if and when we go back again. 77 nights and plus one night on the boat, costed just over $2,200, which gave us an average of $28.69 a night and a median price of $30. Just thought I'd throw that in to be a smart ass. I do enjoy my maths. Something that never fails to amuse me, catch my attention, is the number of folks that complain about not enough free camping or caravan parks are too dear. And look, I'm not a caravan park freak. I would avoid them if I could, but at times you need them. So they've got their $200, $300, $400,000 worth of gear, and off they set. The whole goal of the situation seems to be to camp for nothing, and then they post their, well, it's not their, they don't post their budgets, because a budget is something you do beforehand. They post their budget outcomes. You know, they've used $600 in 4 months, $600 worth of unleaded petrol to run a generator. I'm thinking, wow, fairly interesting. I just can't quite get my head around that. And the one I remember in particular, very big new setup. Big lithium battery setup, roof covered in solar panels, and still heaps of Jenny fuel. That 15, 20, 30 grand spend on lithium and solar panels, possibly not doing the job. Maybe I'm just dumb, I don't know. Whereas places like Macquarie Heads and Granville Harbour for us is about dark skies and isolation. It's nothing about saving money. So I always find that interesting. And while on budgeting, I'm not sure if I'll go into my budget side of things, because that would take me days. Being a detail sort of a guy, budgeting is something I've done for 30 plus years, both work-wise and personal-wise. So I'd be frightened I'd go into a little bit too much detail. Suffice to say, we brought this trip in under budget, but it is an important part of my life in general. What's up next? Who knows? I probably should get onto the car performance side of things. We'll see how we go.